The Strait of Hormuz, the hidden crisis. Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer. If you follow global trade or international news, you already know about this tiny spot on the map. This narrow passage connecting the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea is without a doubt the ultimate global economic choke point. Every single day, a truly staggering amount of crude oil, liquefied natural gas, and commercial goods passes right through here. I mean, it's literally the lifeblood of modern industry. But today, we're going to look past those usual headlines and uncover a completely different side of this story.
What would happen if the Strait of Hormuz closed? You know, whenever political tensions flare up in the Middle East, this is the exact question that dominates the headlines. And when you hear it, your mind probably jumps straight to the economy, right? You're thinking about skyrocketing gas prices at your local pump, massive spikes in global inflation, and supply chains just grinding to an absolute halt. And hey, you wouldn't be wrong. Those concerns are very real for sure, but they only tell half the story.
Think of a potential crisis here like an iceberg. We'll call it the iceberg model. On one side, you have the visible part of the iceberg, the economic impact, temporary market shocks, inflation, supply chain disruptions. History actually shows us that financial markets, even after severe temporary shocks, eventually adapt and recover. But on the other side, beneath the surface, that's where the hidden crisis lies, the environmental impact. If this strait closed, the damage wouldn't just bounce back in a few fiscal quarters. No way. We are talking about permanent ecological damage, decades of oil contamination trapped in the mud, and massive species decline.
Section 1, Anatomy of the Strait. So, to really grasp why this threat is so monumental, let's quickly look at the geography of the region. 33 kilometers. The Strait of Hormuz is a natural waterway, bordered by Iran to the north and Oman and the United Arab Emirates to the south. At its narrowest natural point, this gap is only 33 kilometers wide. That's about 21 miles. On a global map, it literally looks like a tiny thread. Now, 33 kilometers might still sound like a decent amount of open water to sail a ship through, right? 3 kilometers. But here's the claustrophobic reality. The actual designated shipping lanes that commercial vessels are allowed to use are much narrower. Those massive tankers carrying millions of barrels of crude oil, they're squeezing through lanes that are only 3 kilometers, or about 2 miles wide. It's an incredibly tight squeeze.
So you might be wondering, how does international traffic navigate this tiny space without these massive ships just crashing into each other all day? Well, they rely on a traffic separation scheme. It's essentially a highly regulated maritime highway system. You've got 2 directional shipping lanes, one strictly for inbound vessels and one for outbound, and each is separated by a tiny buffer zone to reduce the risk of collisions. Think about the crazy level of precision required to thread a huge chunk of the world's energy trade through this incredibly confined corridor, day in and day out.
Just look at who relies on this high-stakes highway. You have key exporters on one side, like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, the UAE, and Iran. And they are funneling massive shares of global energy directly to heavy-relying importers on the other side, like China, India, Japan, and South Korea. These major economies absolutely depend on this tiny little corridor. And it's not just for oil and gas, but for petrochemicals, industrial materials, and manufactured goods. The sheer concentration of trade funneled through this 3-kilometer lane is just staggering.
Section 2, the hidden environmental crisis. All right, let's shift our perspective a bit. We're looking away from the global economies and down at the fragile marine life sharing this exact space. And this brilliantly illustrates that the Strait's ecosystem is not just a sterile transit corridor for oil tankers. Beneath the waves, it's a vibrant, biologically rich habitat. We're talking intricate coral reefs, vital mangrove forests, and expansive seagrass meadows. It's home to marine mammals, endangered sea turtles, majestic whale sharks, and countless migratory birds. These ecosystems provide absolutely crucial services like carbon storage and shoreline protection. They're the literal foundation of complex food webs.
Section 3, an extreme marine ecosystem. Now, why is this specific geographic body of water so uniquely susceptible to disaster?
35 meters. For starters, the Persian Gulf is remarkably shallow. I mean, while the open ocean can be thousands of meters deep, the average depth here is just 35 meters. That's shallower than the depth limit for a typical recreational scuba diver. Because it's so shallow, the overall volume of water is relatively small, and that directly impacts everything from temperature regulation to how pollutants actually disperse.
Extreme heat and high salinity. Because of that shallow depth and the intense regional climate, the organisms living here face, well, extreme heat and high salinity.
Actually, this ecosystem experiences some of the highest seawater temperatures and salinity levels found in any large marine environment on Earth. The marine life here has adapted to survive, but they're living at the absolute edge of their physiological limits. They're kind of constantly stressed just by their own natural environment.
And here's the mechanical flaw that makes it so dangerous: the pollution trap. Because there is extremely limited water exchange with the open ocean, since it only connects through that narrow Strait of Hormuz, it just doesn't flush out easily. If there's an environmental accident, oil residues and industrial contaminants disperse incredibly slowly. They just sit there, trapped in the Gulf for extended periods, suffocating the marine life trapped inside with them.
Now let's add in the compounding ecological stressors. Before we even talk about a hypothetical closure of the strait, look at what's already happening. We've got rising sea temperatures, brutal marine heat waves causing severe coral bleaching, increasing salinity, massive coastal development, plus everyday pollution and overfishing. I want you to really feel the heavy burden this environment already carries. Scientists are already seeing declines in coral cover and seagrass beds here. This ecosystem is hanging by a thread.
Section 4, the long-term consequences. This brings us to the climax of our explainer.
What happens if you take this highly stressed pollution trap and shut its only exit? You get a devastating chain reaction of a closure. Step 1. Disrupted shipping in a conflict zone drastically increases the risk of catastrophic oil spills. Step 2. Because the Gulf doesn't flush out, that trapped oil leads to the immediate destruction of those vital mangroves and coral reefs. Step 3. Logistically, thousands of massive ships would have to be rerouted globally. That means an immediate massive spike in greenhouse gas emissions from all those rerouted ships, extending way beyond the Middle East.
Disruption of desalination systems. Here is a terrifying human consequence that rarely makes the financial news. A massive influx of polluted water trapped in the Gulf wouldn't just harm turtles and coral. It could actually force the shutdown of coastal desalination systems. These plants are the literal lifeblood of human survival in the region. They supply vital freshwater to millions of people. So a disruption here, it's an immediate, catastrophic threat to human life and stability.
The true cost. So the crucial point is really a matter of perspective. When we measure the true cost of a crisis here, we have to look past the financial markets. Yes, temporary recovery for those markets is a thing. They will panic, but history proves they eventually bounce back. On the other side, coral reefs and marine ecosystems require generations to recover. That is, if they can recover at all. Endangered species could face population declines that are just impossible to reverse.
The Strait of Hormuz is not simply a gateway for global commerce. It is also a critical environmental crossroads. I want to leave you with this quote from our source material because it really challenges us to redefine how we view global choke points, doesn't it? Our whole global economy relies on this tiny 3-kilometer lane of water, but that water is a fragile, irreplaceable world of its own. It makes you wonder, are we truly prepared for the cost of breaking an ecosystem we didn't even realize we were relying on? Something to think about next time the Strait of Hormuz makes the headlines. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning what's beneath the surface.